Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Media Buying Podcast. This is episode 2, and I'm here with my co-host Rob Adler. How you doing, Rob?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Episode number 2.
Cool.
Looking forward to it.
I know. We're like podcast veterans. I think there was a statistic that came out that said most podcasts don't make it past 3 episodes. So we've only got to make it to next week and we're golden. We'll be all downhill from that point forward.
That works for me. Even if it's just a recording of us sitting here doing nothing but talking about personal stuff, that works.
Yeah. For those of you that haven't listened to the first episode, I would definitely recommend you go back and listen to it. There was some absolute killer stuff from Rob in it. I was just trying to hold on and go with it. There's some really, really good stuff in there that Rob talked about. And one of the things that we did talk about very briefly last week, and I said that we'd pick it up in future episodes, was the topic of AI. And I just wanted to get an overall, maybe a 30,000 foot view from you as to what your views are on AI and what it holds for us.
So AI let's start at the 30,000 and I'll zoom in a little bit. So the 30,000 foot view is, at least from the people I've talked to, is either you're extremely excited about this or extremely worried about this. It's one of the two. And that worry could be my competitors can now execute faster than us, all the way through, how do I trust it? All the way through, I don't know what we're going to do here, all the way through, oh my God, like this is going to be mass layoffs, like stuff like that. What I like to do is I'm using my old SEO principle. And my old SEO principle is you find a way to automate white hat stuff, and then it just makes your life easier as long as it doesn't sacrifice quality or whatever it is. So I usually use a lot of the AI stuff for workflows or like just double checking stuff. Like there's plenty of people now that are using it for like, I wake up and all of my emails are classified and my drafts are already written with my replies and all that. Those are good uses, but like a lot of people now are getting stuff so interconnected that some of the workflows are honestly a little scary, like in a good way. So for example, one of the ones that we did, and I did this just as a test, is I used Claude Desktop, which has MCP support, which is basically a fancy way of saying it can call APIs in a standard format. And I integrated that with my email and my calendar. And all I did was I said, look at the last year of my emails. And I was like, that's a lot of emails. And I'm like, yeah, just do like 10 at a time, work your way back. And I want you to just try to determine, is this a client? Is this a prospect? Is this a current client? What stage are they at? Did they get a demo yet? Did they sign the contract? Have they paid? And it was able to recreate about 80% of our CRM with I'd probably say about 90% accuracy. So I got the stages right. It got the contacts, all that. Then as background in that, I also had to pull, and this is where it really affects your workflow, is I had to pull the emails from them and from us and look at like what I said, what they said, blah, blah, blah. So it can see tone. But then you can go back and say, here's what I'm trying to say to this person based on the way that they phrase things. What would be the best way to phrase this to them to address their issues? And most of the time that's maybe it just phrases it a little bit better, or it's cleaner, or it's like this. And then I remember specifically my test, it went, well, about 7 emails ago on this date, this guy said that this was one of the most important factors. And then he never talked about it again. So we're going to say how this proposal addresses that. And then literally we did that. And he was just like, this is exactly what I was looking for. And I was just like, aha. I was like, yeah, that's great. So 7 cents in tokens just got me like a full close. So there's a lot of stuff on that side. There's a lot of people using autonomous coding and all this, but a lot of people are doing actions. Like they're trying to make the AI work with like, I want you to do this, browse here, call this, figure this out, research that. Just have it be ancillary. Just have it be on the back end. So a lot of people, when you talk about the AI stuff, you always talk about like, well, what's the biggest impact on my productivity? What's going to be the easiest that's going to make a big difference in my life? And everyone's like, oh, Claude, ChatGPT, like all this kind of stuff. Cool, all good. But there's a lot of stuff that you do every single day that normally you have to, and this is the part where people split on what it's going to be in the future. Is it going to be that I could now have this AI model double check my proposal and make sure I landed all the stuff in the original spec that we're supposed to address on this proposal? Or do I go to the action-based workflow where everyone else is, where there's like, here's a person, write a full proposal, everything, and then they just generate the whole thing. So a lot of the a lot of the people are using this to try to replace entire workflows instead of just help them, add a little bit more to it. Like the email stuff is great, right? Like you get an email from a prospect, maybe start with something small. Don't have it reply. Don't have it go back. Don't have it do a bunch of specifics. Just have it go, hey, question, is this guy in our CRM? And then once you run that query, just go, is it a prospect? Is it a client? Is it this? And then that's easy. And then you can come up with the next steps. But there's so much ambiguity while at the same time having so many detailed walkthroughs of all this other stuff that everyone just thinks that everything's equal, and it's not. Like GPT is very good at certain things. Gemini is very good at certain things. Claude is very good at certain things. Don't get locked into one model. There's certain models for certain things that work very, very well. Content generation, GPT is amazing for length while still maintaining accuracy to a point. Claude is extremely good at accuracy, but I can't get it to like output length. Like I'm like, do 30,000 words. It's like, here's 7. I'm like, that's not even close. So there's a lot of those. And also remember, things are changing everything.
Yeah.
So everything I said by the time people watch this is probably wrong. Like it's adapting too fast.
Yeah. I mean, I'm spending a fair amount of time on Substack.
Yep.
And a lot of people have switched from like Beehive and stuff like that to Substack. And the thing I really like about it is, one, I can put podcasts on there, which is good. Mm-hmm. But also you have notes, you have like long form sort of LinkedIn type newsletter format. You can obviously mail out your database, right? And they only charge you a percentage of what you make, right? So if you get paid subscribers, then they take a percentage of that. And other than that, the platform's free. And I've seen people complain about, oh, well, it doesn't do this and it doesn't do this, it doesn't do this. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't cost a ton of money.
It's a lot of functionality for what it costs. Like it definitely is a loss leader hoping that they make X, Y, and Z. But the point I was going to make was that like on Substack, you have a lot of people are sort of really going straight into sort of sell mode right from the get-go. Yep.
Right. And I think so much of people's success will come from not going into sell mode, but going to help mode, right? Yeah. The more you can help people, educate them, train them, and everything else, the better. And I think the people that just try and go into sell mode. But it sort of amazes me how many people are clearly using like ChatGPT and AI to write so many of their posts. You can look at it and go, you didn't write that. That's not written by, that's written by AI.
It's every other post. It's literally, yeah.
And like I said, it frustrates me a lot because, again, like on Substack, there's thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people that are calling themselves consultants. And it's like, yeah, well, you just need to create an information product. It's like, do you know how difficult it is to create an information product?
They don't. They have absolutely no idea, because if you really think about it, this is like 3 years after ClickBank got released and there was a bunch of info products and a bunch of biz ops and all that. And then you have a bunch of people that know how to write. They're very good at copywriting. They're very good at like actual sales copy, but they don't know jack about what they're actually writing about. And then the problem is that, and there are obviously always are exceptions, right? But that is now setting the stage for everyone now, where they're like, I typed 3 things into Twitter and now I'm a social media manager. And I'm like, okay, first relax. But then the second part is now you get people going to AI and going, so I took your proposal, I put it through AI and I asked it for improvements. And now I am an AI specialist in sales copy. And I'm like, dude, no. But that's everywhere now. Like the amount of people that have tried, the amount of people that literally, and I'm not saying they did AI outreach. They actually they looked me up. They looked at my full background. They looked at the stuff I did and then referenced that in a message to me going, it sounds like you need help with your AI stuff. And if you need consulting, you can do that. And I went, did you base that on my post where I said I'm running free workshops for AI people? Like, no, it's run and gun. Everyone right now is just grab it before it hits the ground, go and just see what we can do.
But in the sort of media buying affiliate space, the thing I like about AI is it enables solo affiliates to be able to punch way above their weight when it comes to what they can get done on a sort of daily, weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if you have any kind of good use cases for AI specifically for media buying and
actually. So, okay, there's a couple. So let's talk about a workflow that just makes sense and is pretty much logical to use, but from a read-only standpoint, right? So it just watches your stuff, whatever. If you use a tool that has an API, then most likely you can use an MCP to pull stats from it. So like Go High Level even has one right now where you can pull like, today we sent this many texts and it's sent to this person, blah, blah, blah. So one thing that people are not putting into a workflow that now makes this very easy is the ability to cross promote, cross channel based on conditional elements. So like if I have an email and I'm doing an email and let's say I'm on B2B or something, right? And I'm just like messaging people like, hey, why don't you take a look at our stuff, whatever it is. They reply back and they're like, I'm not interested. But then the next person replies back and goes, there is no way that anyone at our company would be able to use this because it's not like there's no way to use that product with our business. It just doesn't make sense for that, right? The difference in that and being able to parse that that's a negative response versus a positive response. We've had that for a while, right? Like sentiment analysis, stuff like that. But we haven't had the ability that says, is this a negative response that could be overcome by trying to answer the objections? And then that with the correct amount of information could actually address their actual problems or their questions or their concerns and reply through the email, addressing that as a person responding with a full email. So it's like, dear John, I completely understand. I'm looking at this stuff too, and it doesn't make sense. I did notice with this, like blah, 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 right? It addresses all the stuff. Every other piece is just one more piece tacked onto that. And at that point, that's very easy to do. So now this is working, right? Gmail works. It's sending that. What if you wanted to say, listen, I want to completely hear you out. And I understand that you have concerns. Any chance you have 30 minutes for a call next week? And they can reply and they can say, like, you could just send the link, right? That we can always do that. Now you can MCP to Calendly and you can say, here are 8 spots I have available for a 30-minute next week. Do any of these work for you? He replies back and says, yes. He says what it is. You can actually, with a little prompting, you could actually make it reserve that spot in Calendly for him, right? So that's not necessarily affiliate specific, but that is a good one for there. So then let's say, for example, you want an affiliate specific version. So maybe what you need to do is you have your setup and you're buying traffic. And let's just say for sake of ease of use, let's say that you're buying from Facebook, you've got 10 ad groups, 10 different demographics, same product, right? What works, what doesn't? What takes the one-time upsell? What takes the decline? What actually abandons? At a certain point, you're going to see all that, right? You're going to see it in like your volume or if you use like Everflow or even in the Facebook, you're going to see that. But you can't really take action on it until you interpret it, then you make sense of it, then you go, oh, this means that, and then you do it. But there are some things you don't need to comprehend to understand it doesn't make sense. Like one ad group running 1,000 clicks to one lander that doesn't have a single conversion, right? So then the question becomes, if it had partial conversions, maybe we just need to rework the copy. So let's go look at what that is, look at what we're targeting, and then say, listen, this traffic now, we need a specific lander with terminology for these people. Write me that lander. Here's what matters. Here's the legal requirements we cannot change. No matter what, pro tip, it's still going to change it. Double check it. But you do all of that. And then now you've eliminated, well, we got to get the designer in here to do this. We got to get the coder in here to do this. We need to split the traffic, get the DevOps guy, get this guy. As long as you can paste the copy in somewhere, if that's WordPress, a backend, whatever, or the AI agent can make the HTML page literally, and then you just upload it. So you've eliminated that. That's one of the main things at Boardwalk that we do is we eliminate your need for the designer and coder for basically allowing that person to do it. This is that, but for every other type of task, right? It could be anything. You get inquiries, if you respond with pricing, if you're a small business. If you get someone that emails and goes, this is an emergency, and it's not an emergency, maybe I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. for it. But am I willing to take the liability that it's right or wrong? That's for every person to decide. So there's a lot of aspects about that. I could go into the analytics and all that, like you could go through all of those, but the main thing is, and what I have taught a couple of friends to do, even broad strokes, is take your ad groups, take your ads, put them into buckets, whether that's a CSV or a folder, whatever, and then have Claude read through them and go, here's this ad that brought in under these sales lines, this ad copy, all that. And then here's where it's going. Here are the stats. compare it to all the others, and try to find patterns. It'll find 5 things, 3 will be bullshit, 2 will be good. But the 2, those are the ones usually that make like a 4 or 5% gain. Like they're not small. So there's a lot of uses. And that's what I mean about everything's changing so fluidly. It's like every single day someone comes out with the new standard in XYZ. I really just use my own stuff. So I self-host my models.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that frustrates the hell out of me is that obviously ever since Facebook, Google, Microsoft have gone down this whole AI path, right? So they've done away with virtually all the reps that they had, right? So again, I'm thinking, well, where have all those people gone? Because they're not working at Facebook or anything anymore. Yep. They're enforcing their kind of will on advertisers, right? So to your point, like they recommend you have all these multiple primary texts and descriptions and calls to action and images and videos and everything else. If you land on a winning formula with an ad, right? For starters, that ad has got a huge amount of social proof usually with it because of the fact that 5 million people have seen the video, whatever it might be, and people will like it, comment, share, whatever, right? So that becomes part of the, in addition to the primary text, the image and the description, it's also, that's the proof that people know that this is actually not just a fly-by-night. It's been there for a little while, right? But the problem they have is because they keep going on about creative fatigue and you can't run it for more than a certain amount of time, right? I think a lot of advertisers and affiliates in particular are probably just blindly accepting whatever they suggest as being gospel.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing that frustrates me is that I want to be able to say, you know what? I know you've got 21 placements on Facebook, but I only like 4 of them.
Yep.
Right. Or maybe 6 at a push. Right. So I might say, these are the 6 placements I want. If you do less than 6, pretty much they just won't run your ad.
Exactly.
Right. So I could say, I want to be on mobile news feed, desktop feed, and a couple of other places. But they enforce it that you have to run at least 6. Right. They recommend you run all 21. Right. And they recommend all sorts of other things. And that, again, frustrates the living daylights out of me because they make it that they suggest that their AI gets the best results, knows how it all works. And I'm looking at stats of pre-AI and post-AI, and they're not even close, right? They are so far off the mark.
It's like,
it just drives me.
It's insane. Like every time someone that has done Google search has been on that call with one of their clients, and then you hear the amazing phrase of, oh, cool, a Google rep just reached out to help me optimize our Google account. And you're like, don't do it. Because every time we've ever done it, we lose money every single time. At a certain point, you got to think about their business model. And their business model is to get to a point where they can literally show you exactly the ad that they know you're going to take action on, the literal split second that you're looking for it, so that eventually it's not about bidding, it's about conversion rate. And then they'll be able to figure out the best match, which ironically is like, that's the checks and balances of affiliate too. If you think, you got to think travel, flight, hotels, like they've been testing this for years, back when they had the affiliate program, like the whole 9. So it's going to be really interesting, especially on that side. But in my mind, the sector that a lot of people are focusing on right now, that is crazy to me, is there's only the big boys focusing on SMB. Like everyone else is focusing on internal use or like using it internally at an agency or doing this or doing that or whatever. But like outside of ChatGPT, Claude, and like maybe Gemini, they're really not going after like SMBs, right? And then NVIDIA has the DGX, which I've already been on the reserve list for the consumer version. But like that one, when that comes out, is going to be like, if you think ChatGPT becoming a thing was a big deal, that's going to be even bigger, because that puts about half the strength of GPT in your home for 100 watts of power. So it's like, when that happens, like I'm done. I don't even have to worry about like buying new GPUs anymore or anything like this. Like it's like 20 times the speed of my card for 1/5 of the power use. So It's like, now imagine that in a data center for someone like Anthropic with Claude, and they're just like, all right, guys, let's get the performance increase. So there's our 200,000 units we're going to put over there. Like it's crazy. The amount of money going into this stuff is insane right now.
Yeah. But again, I keep thinking at some point in time, there's going to be this rude awakening where all of a sudden people are going to be asked to pony up money to pay for for using it. And it's like, what do you do then? Right.
So,
I think we're in the kind of that whole trial phase at the moment. A lot of people are getting a lot.
Yep. And that's, and if you talk to anyone, that's exactly what they're doing. That's why Cursor's $20. That's why Claude Code is now available on the $20 plan. And that's why Cursor just came out with a max plan that is almost exactly rivaling Claude, because Claude Code was gaining so much market share on them, they had to adjust. So it's like, it really depends on that. But right now you're right. It's 100% market share. It's just trying to get as much as possible to get built in and blah, blah, blah. But of all of the, let's call them frontier models, like GPT, like all the big ones, the big boys, I use them in very specific ways, but most of my workloads are home. Like I have self-hosted free data sets that I use at home, and I'm tweaking those and training those and doing all that. One of the bigger misconceptions about AI is that if it doesn't work for your use case, there's no way to make it work for your use case. And that's simply not true. You can literally train stuff at home with like a 5-year-old graphics card and make it work better for your stuff. It's just, again, no one's focusing on that because that's one of the 7 steps between business owner and immediate AI access through. For some of my stuff, I've been able to actually get my stuff to answer more accurately after post-training than some of the frontier models, but for my use case, right? Which is all I care about. I'm not going to sell this model. Like it doesn't do anything for me, but it makes the workflow a lot easier. So like in that side, I see a lot of people using this for like, first of all, chatbots are a layup. That's already being done heavily. But the second thing is like I have full autonomous email now, in and outbound, full prospecting, qualification, setting up meetings, like the whole nine. And with NCPs, I can book the actual calls. Like, so B2B outreach is about to be even more of a cluster than it is, but none of them know how to inbox anyway. So we don't need to worry about that.
Are you telling me that my LinkedIn kind of like, hey, we can offer this and we can offer that, is just going to go through the roof?
Oh yeah. You're going to have so many more people and they're all going to know the same information that Perplexity found on your homepage when they researched you before they emailed you. Because that's the big one right now. Is the other day I had 6 emails, literally all within 1 hour, that noticed the exact one thing on my website. And all of them were like, I know other people wouldn't notice this, but we did. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are running off the same prompt. Come on now. So there's a lot of that, but it's just, there's a lot of stuff you can put these models in, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Like it doesn't cost a lot of money at all to even be able to help you, like formatting issues. Like, oh, look, here's all of our URL pre-pops from the last week. We had some conversion problems. Are there any problems in these pre-pops? ? It'll read the file, look at the format, see if there's any issues. So like QA back and forth, it's really fast. And you can use that for email. You can use that for text. You can use that for a bunch of other stuff. You also don't need to use it for tech. You can also use it for copy. You can also use it for specific copy or psychological aspects of copy. Now, remember, it's only as good as it can understand psychology, right? But if you are a political mailer, for example, and you deal with like, or ad buyer, right? And you're targeting like the right, then you don't want stuff that talks about stuff that would piss off the right or the left, and you don't want to piss them off, right? The LLM can determine that to a point based on what you tell them and say, if you're here, don't ever mention these, but you're cool to mention or things like these. And literally now that email comes in and you're like, I need to reply. And now you would normally go, but which one do I reply with? And now I need to modify it, make sure it's a little bit unique. And I got to do this and address their actual approach. Now you just go, here's the reply. Here's the full context. Here's our goal of what we're trying to do. Here's their information and what I know about them. Craft a reply specific to him, addressing his issues based on the information I give you. Right. And the spam filters, a lot easier to get around if you're not worrying about sending 500,000 a second. So like with stuff like this, very easy to get around. But now imagine that as what makes your ads, or what comes up with your targeting demographics for your ads, or your ability, like do back testing. I don't know why more people don't at least do that. Just take all your leads you've ever had, which you know you have because you use it for your lookalike, and you literally take it and you put it in through a CSV with first name, last name, and all the demos like state and all your questions. And you go figure out buckets of profiles that I should target from a psychological and marketing perspective based on this is our current set of leads that we have, right? Then you go, here's the ones that converted from those leads. If you find criteria that does not exist in the converters, but does there, I need you to say, important, critical, neg match on this. And then I just run that once a week as soon as the data updates. And then that way, if something changes in society, I don't keep optimizing around back tested data. So I do that on mail. I do that on other stuff. I do it with sales. That's where all the A/B split tests are. If you really think about it, it's just a multi-factor. But if you do that properly, like all of the stuff that you normally need, like this person that normally does this for my company, some of those free up their time. Let them use the expertise of what they learned. Let them do something else, make more money, right? You don't need someone to be there and go, we emailed this guy yesterday, so the lead is active. We need this yesterday, so it's active. You have them prospect, get more sales. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the aspect of taking, let's call it more basic decision-making and letting someone else do that. And as long as you can do that, half the thing is getting the prompt low level enough that the AI can do it properly. And that's what it is it's forcing you to explain it more than you would to a person. And that's really what makes it do it. But it's still the aspect of these guys don't know how to do any of this. And then they always complain about not having time, but they also won't hire an assistant, or they also won't hire.
But, a lot of people are going and they're finding like prompts on like wherever, Reddit or Quora or whatever, and copying and pasting and going, oh, I don't really like the results. It's like, well, you haven't really done what you needed to do in order to make that work for you.
So whoever you are watching this, if you're going to take anything from this, for the love of God, let it be this. If you ever think to yourself, the prompt didn't work, take the prompt, put it in double quotes, put it into a new prompt, and turn on the freaking search mode or the intelligence mode or whatever it is. And all you do is say, this is my prompt. Please optimize it to get the right result. This is the right result. And then you give them the prompt. It will give you back an optimized prompt. And if that doesn't work, you take that optimized prompt and you put it in the other model, aka if you're doing this in Claude, you take the Claude prompt and put it in GPT 2.5 Pro, Gemini 2.5 Pro, or you put it into GPT 4.0 or 4.5 or O3 reasoning, and you say, I really need you to fix this now. And the thought process difference between the two almost always solves it. Almost always. So it's just...
Yeah, it's funny. You were talking about MCP, and again, I'm not a coder. I'm nowhere near on the same level as you, but I was trying to install some MCPs on Claude, and I kept getting errors. And I just basically grabbed the JSON from the file, put it into Claude, and said, "Can you correct this to make it right?" And they did. I mean, it just worked like a charm, right? And I'm thinking, It was a bit like Inception. I'm using the tool to fix itself, really.
I do that so much. Like there's the two things that I probably show other people how to use it more is both in GPT and Claude, there's the concept of projects. And almost every single person I've ever found uses projects wrong, at least in my mind, like how they work, right? So let's say that you run a company and you offer services and blah, 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 right? You always have those documents you give to your salespeople. Like, this is what we can do. This is what we normally quote at. This is our charge, blah, blah, blah. You can put those as documents into a project. And then every single prompt you put in from there forward has those as context. So if you're coding, upload your schema file and then say, I'm trying to write a new feature that'll integrate with companies. And it'll be like, oh, you mean companies in this table with company underscore ID that's linked to people here under company ID? Like, it'll understand that, right? But it's not just code. You can also put in all your sales copy that worked really well, and then all the sales copy that worked horrible. And you prefix the bad ones with bad underscore, and you prefix the good ones with good underscore, and you go, make it more like the good one and less like the bad one. And like, I use it for copy. I use it for ads. I use it for double checking thought processes. That's the other thing too, is the orchestration level and the architecture level of these. It's not just coding. You can have it do a full rollout for you to design an entire offer with like how to build your email marketing and services. And like, it'll take 5 minutes. It'll literally just give you that entire thing with a step-by-step. It's crazy. But people want, like I said, they skip over that and they just want I want the solution from one prompt. And then it gets stuck and they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think a lot of affiliates, media buyers, they don't really stop to think, how did they arrive at whatever they're recommending or suggesting, right? And I've always tried to reverse engineer something and try and understand the thought process that goes into what the output ends up being, right? So again, just as a general rule, I wouldn't run any offer. Like if I was going to go into affiliate marketing today, right, I wouldn't run any offer that I didn't have a passing understanding of the particular marketplace, right? So again, I've been reading this book, which again, I don't know if you've read it. It's Adam Young's book, The Pay-Per-Call Revolution, right? Again, it's a great book. If you're an affiliate, you want to get into pay-per-call, then it's definitely a great book to get into it. But also, not even that. Even if you don't do pay-per-call, it's also a really good book for understanding how to get into business. What the process you need to do to set yourself up as a business to try and succeed, right? Because a lot of people just go, they have this grubby affiliate sitting at home in their underwear, drinking Red Bull, coding, and that's in a lot of cases not what it is. I mean, if you've ever been to a LeadsCon, right, everyone's there in suits and ties, and it's really professional, which is good. So you've got to be able to conduct yourself wherever you happen to be at that point, right? But it always amazes me how affiliates go into an industry that they don't know anything about because somebody's posted a text document with here's 100 verticals you could try, and here's what you can do, and here's creative you can use, and this, that, and the other. It's like, and they just try and do copy paste and wonder why it doesn't work for them, whereas it worked for whoever it was that maybe initially came up with the idea, right? Because they've spent probably thousands of dollars trying to get it to work to get to that point, right? But from that point forward, it's like, it doesn't work the same way, right? One, because people are bored with seeing the same ad copy over and over again, right? I remember when I first learned about Medicare, right? And people were saying, here's the ad copy you can use. And I'm thinking, well, if you use the same ad copy as everyone else, then what makes your ad different from everyone else's, right? I mean, maybe it's because it needs to be compliant. I don't know, but.
And that right there, you just explained the same process that every single affiliate mailer goes through and hates. Because inside of that process, they give you the friendly from line that has to be identical, the subject line that has to be identical, and the email body or creative that has to be identical. And then we're sitting there going, how do you want me to inbox when there are 1,900 mailers sending this 50 million times a day? Like that's exactly what it is. So it's like, and normally it's compliance. I get that. But sometimes they specifically want it in a certain way, in a certain kind of setup, and it gets that. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. And it's also, the other thing too is it's all the process, right? So everyone that gets started, they're always like, okay, this offer looks cool. Let's find people to do that. I think we talked about this a little bit on the first episode, was like, they do it backwards. They find an offer, then they find people that'll convert for the offer instead of finding the people, then offers around it. It's the same kind of concept with stuff like this. Is they're doing the right actions. They're just doing them out of order. And if they just had it a little bit easier, it would actually help them instead of affect them. But that's, in my mind, that's how a lot of it happens, is you end up getting excited, everything's good, and then you're learning from X, Y, and Z. You copy and paste, it doesn't work, which of course it doesn't work, because why would they sell you something that is actively making them money? And then people get jaded, but then they also have learned about the industry and now they're interested. And then that starts them down the path of getting the second product that normally screws them out of more money. And then so on and so forth. So it's just, when the majority of people end up coming into the industry that way, that's when it becomes bad. And that's why a lot of people have those weird expectations, at least in my mind.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember that a lot of people, when they get into it, they think they need to go and buy a course or join a mastermind or something like that. And again, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've spent a ton of money on courses. I tried to develop my own courses, and it was just like, I felt like I was in a complete rabbit hole. I was going down and down and down. And the more I tried to get this product out, I get probably 80% of what's in there is going to be inaccurate within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? It's going to be wrong. And I'm going to be constantly rewriting content, constantly reshooting videos, tutorial videos. And in the end, I went, not doing that anymore, right? So again, I take my hat off to anyone that's written a book like Adam, anyone that has created courses. But for me, again, if you were starting out now as a brand new affiliate, where would you go to get your knowledge? What would you look for?
Oh, that's a loaded question. No. I never said it was a bad question. I would answer with two different things. One of them would be, how much do you understand about the industry and or business? And then the second would be, what do you have any history or any information about like how to generate traffic, right? Like, have you ever done paid before? Have you ever done email? Have you ever, I don't know, posted your dresser in Facebook Marketplace? Anything like those lines, as long as they have some kind of context on it. The number one problem usually is getting people to whatever you need to get them to for the potential of you getting paid. Number two is getting them to actually do the action in which you get paid for. So like finding someone, for example, that is looking for new health insurance is one thing. Getting them to actually go to the website and fill out the 43 questions in order to get a quote, that's another thing. But also you need to be realistic about your stuff. As long as you're not false selling people and you're actually sending people over, if it's not converting, it might not be your fault. It might be the advertiser's fault. But usually find a way to get traffic for a certain topic, whatever that is. It could be Yahoo Answers, it could be Quora, it could be SEO, it could be paid, it could be email, it could be whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be you talking in local Facebook groups. And all you need to do is find people that are looking for something and find someone that is willing to pay you for that person. Whether it's a lead, a sale, intake, just an eyeball, an impression, a click, whatever. That is an extremely oversimplified version, but the vast majority of people get stuck at that first one. Traffic is almost always the aspect that you need. Finding advertisers is not hard. Finding good advertisers is hard, but finding advertisers is not hard. But it's always comes back to the traffic. Always.
Yeah. Again, I've always maintained that if you want to be taken seriously in the industry, right, you definitely need to have your own kind of domain. You need to have your own email address, right? I mean, again, it blows my mind when you see like vans driving around with Gmail or Microsoft Outlook or whatever, outlook.com email addresses on the side of the van. I'm like, are you kidding me? That is ridiculous.
It's bad, but they don't know.
And that's the thing, they don't know what they don't know. And I think, again, through the course of maybe this podcast and future episodes and everything, I'm hoping that we can get to the point where we can help educate people on the steps that they need to do. Again, negotiation, like I talked about on episode 1 with the ringtone story, right?
Yep.
I basically got on a plane and flew out to negotiate with my advertiser because I wanted them to pay me quicker, right? And there was no way I could have probably done that via email. The fact that I took the effort and spent money to get on a plane and go and see them, right? They thought, yeah, this guy obviously is very serious about doing well with this offer, right? So it was an opportunity for us to, if you like, break bread. We were able to get some synergy going, talk about things in a more detailed way. I mean, what was really interesting is it used to be that people would complain, and people would complain about the fact that, let's say it was a Justin Bieber ringtone, right? Yep. What they had was in their office, they had this sort of sound room where they had studio musicians basically because they weren't stealing the kind of music from Justin Bieber. They were just stealing the music
concept
and they were exactly. So they were cannibalizing or plagiarizing the kind of the content, right? But they were able to prove that it wasn't stolen from the artist. So
interesting.
I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, there's always those small side notes that just barely get you out of situations like that.
Yeah, and again, as you and I both know, like most of the best deals I've ever done have happened at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Right, you're in a bar. Maybe the Chandelier bar, but you're in a bar somewhere, right? You're talking to somebody, you're having a drink, and you can gel with them. You can get a feel for whether this person is going to be. And if you're spending money and expecting to be paid, right? People's reputations can follow them around like
100%.
Like crazy, and and unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the industry who have built a reputation of not paying and not honoring kind of contracts and everything else, right? So. Again, I think that, as you say, like good advertisers sometimes are harder to find, right? Good networks are hard to find, right? I mean, there's a lot of affiliate networks out there because the barrier to entry for setting up as an affiliate network is so low, right? And there's always this kind of like a cascading process. You've got the advertiser who's paying a certain amount of money. They're paying a decent amount of money to the first person in their queue. That person's brokering it to other people who are taking their cut. they're brokering it to other people. And before you know it, the affiliate at the end is getting probably 15% of the overall money because everyone else is getting paid up the line, right? And I've always maintained if you're an affiliate, you need to try and work your way up that totem pole as quick as you can, right? Yeah. You want to get as close to the top as you're able to. And the way you're going to do that is be consistent, right? If you make a commitment to deliver a certain volume of leads, right? The biggest problem with advertisers is if they give you a quota, let's say they go, you can send me 3,000 leads this month, and you only deliver 200, they're left with a 2,800 lead hole in their performance, right? And that's not going to look good. So you need to make sure, however you arrive at that, again, I've seen myself in situations where I've made a commitment to an advertiser to deliver a certain volume of traffic or leads or whatever, and haven't done it at the point in time. So I just threw everything I could at it to make sure we hit it, right? Even if it meant we lost lead that month, because it basically gave us the opportunity to fight again the next month and try and sort of recoup the losses, right? So,
I mean, I was on a call with a network owner, friend of mine, probably 2 days ago. And by the way, still happening to this day, as recently as 2 days ago, is someone asked to reserve a 500 cap on one of his offers. And it was 2 days from the end of the billable cycle for the cap. Hub took it, didn't deliver. And then as a result of not delivering, not only did the advertiser cut the network's cap, but it also cut what they were already producing by half. So they were at let's call it 2,000 leads a day. It was their cap, right? And they were doing 1,200 or whatever. And with those, they gave it to them and they were like, okay, we reserved it. The advertiser actually took it from a different person and gave it to them. And then they didn't deliver. So the advertiser, he just lost that cap, which means it's unrealized revenue and profit. Then the network lost, then the pub lost. And then on top of all of that, all three of them lost again. I just tell people, if you're unsure, just tell me your confidence level. I'm 60% sure I can run this tomorrow or whatever. Or I'm not positive. Just give me the opportunity to say, why don't I give you half the cap? And then if you do send or you are able to run it, just let me know halfway through and I'll see if there's more I can give you. That's fine. But as a result, you not just impacted the business, but you also impacted the business for other people like you. And that's where the industry gets a little different nowadays. But yeah, just be honest. Just be honest with the people you work with. Because if you can't be honest with them, why are you working with them?
Yeah, I used to have this sort of situation when I had my affiliate network. If an advertiser approached me and wanted to put an offer on the network, right, I would always do one of three things, right? So I would say to them, look, fine, I'm quite happy to have a look at it. I said, but before we get to that point, right, what I want to do is I do a Dun & Bradstreet check, right, to make sure that the business is legit. If I can't get a Dun & Bradstreet reference for whatever reason, I'll go, right, can you give me some references of people that you've worked with, right? And I'll reach out to those people to ensure that they paid their bills, right? If I can't get any of those, right, then I'll say to them, okay, well, I'm quite happy to run your offer, but you need to prepay, right? And some people get bent out of shape and say, I'm not going to prepay. And I'm like, okay, in that case, good luck. Hope you find a network to work with, but it's not going to be us, right? Because just like I said, I'm not a charity. I'm here to make money, and that's not the way we do things, right? So equally, I'm always amazed at how many networks will stiff their affiliates and then expect them to keep running traffic with them.
It's all a cash flow game. But the bigger thing is that there are metrics that go into that people just don't like when you're cap rolling and you're literally at a point where you have 40 advertisers all paying you every month at different pay schedules or whatever it is. And then you're floating money. People forget that when you get screwed, you don't just lose the money that you were supposed to collect. You also lose what you have to pay to the pub. So if I invoice an advertiser $100,000, I take 20,000 in margin, 20%, and then I pay the pub 80,000. That's how I make 20. But if I don't get paid the 100, I still owe the 20, or I still owe the 80. So it's not just that you didn't collect, it's that you didn't collect and then you got screwed again. So it's a lot of people don't comprehend that level of depth on the liability of the network side. But that is, and by the way, they do that too with their advertisers. And then the advertisers do it with their people. Everyone does it to a point. But It's just,
Yeah.
you don't.
And quite often, I've seen it happen before where I was working with an advertiser through a network, right? And I went to the bank to check the money was there, and there was no money. I'm like, this is weird. So I called the network and said, look, I was expecting to see the money. And went, oh, the funniest thing, the advertiser just forgot to pay the bill this month. But don't worry, we'll kind of make sure we include it in next month's payment, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I ponied out like 20 grand on traffic that I bought from Google. I can't go, you know what? The network stiffed me, so I'm going to stiff you. It just doesn't work that way. So I had to pay the money and then wait another month to get it, right? And I basically said, look, if you ever do that again, we are done. We're not going to be doing this anymore. So I did that, right? And the same thing happened. It was like that again, maybe 3 or 4 months later, exactly the same thing happened with the same advertiser, right? So I stopped the offer completely, right? And the network obviously got bent out of shape. Oh, you're taking this the wrong way. I'm like, look, sorry, but I'm just not prepared to fund your business, right, at the expense of my business. And what happened was the advertiser reached out to me directly, right, because obviously we'd had some sort of communication with them. And they basically said, why did you stop the traffic? And I said, well, because you didn't pay your bill. And they went, what do you mean we didn't pay the bill? And they had paid the network, but the network had used the money to pay other bills that they had in the business.
And that's right? That right there is exactly what it is. Because when you have some advertisers on like monthly net 7, but that's like 40% of your AR, then that ends up paying about 40% of pretty much all the money you owe pubs. But now imagine that you do that, and then you pay the pub that actually generated that revenue, and you have to pay him a week later, and then the other advertiser doesn't pay. Then you're screwed. The guy that made you all the money also is screwed. And the guy that didn't make you all the money, or all the other guys, then they got paid. So like that's why a lot of an affiliate, especially whenever someone says, has anyone heard of these guys not paying? Has anyone heard of these guys are a little bit slow? Like we literally have groups of like 600 to 2,000 people that are just talking about every time we get short lists. Like every time someone doesn't pay or they're even late. Like, because if I see that and I'm floating money with that guy, the second I see that, if I trust the person that said it, I'm pausing traffic to them, period. And the second they resume and that guy tells me they paid, then it's resumed. But until then, it is too much of a risk. So it's
I mean, that's always one of the things that I mean, I haven't got too heavily involved in pay-per-call. I want to, right? So again, if there's anyone watching or listening that would like to train me, I'm going to be the most malleable person you can train to do it. But what I find really interesting is that if you use a platform like Ringba, you can listen to the recordings, right? And I've always said, like, sometimes you send the leads in, right? And people say, oh, I'm not paying you for that. That was like bad or whatever else, right? Now you've got a full kind of like log to see exactly what kind of went down. And quite often you'll see, let's say you get paid after 30 seconds or whatever, 60 seconds on the call. After 54 seconds on the call, they're making all these, here's a promo for this, here's a promo for this, here's a promo for this. And then at 54 seconds, call gets cut off. You don't get paid, but they manage to get 3 of their kind of offers in front of that person, or they'll call the person straight back because they've got the number.
You're going to like this. One of the biggest differences I made when I ran my pay-per-call network was the fact that I transcribed all the calls afterwards, and I looked for trigger words like, what is your number so I can call you in case we get disconnected? And then I started to notice that every single one that would die within 10 seconds of the buffer always ended with, can you hear me? Are you still there? And it always started with, what's your number? And then I literally had my call center reach out and they were just like, oh yeah, we enrolled yesterday. And I'm like, yep. So it's like, but the other thing too is I use those transcripts to identify different angles to market, because what'll happen is you'll hear them say, oh, I'm not interested. Oh, why are you not interested? Then they say the reason, right? Or like, yes, I am interested. Take it all your billable calls, go what's in common, all the billable calls that are not, or non-billables and the short ones, look at those, look at the difference. There's a lot, but yeah.
But again, I think some of that, it just requires a little bit of lateral thinking, a bit of planning, a bit of input, and a bit of output, right? You need to have data going in to get the data out. You just need to know what to
look for and where. And ironically, those are the 2 things that no one knows. And that's why a lot of people don't do this on their own. So it's a lot of the stuff about AI, as much as it is getting stuff done, it's going to be a huge, huge, huge educational component. And like, I've had a lot of friends that like take their information, like, oh, we sent this email to these records and both like the whole nine, just package it all up, throw it in and just go, why didn't it work? And I'm not going to say it's going to tell you why it didn't work, but it responded with 5 things. He switched 2 of them and the 2 of them worked. So it's like, sometimes it does actually by chance actually figure it out through assumptions. But yeah, it's just workloads are worth it. But more importantly, it's just someone to bounce ideas off of immediately that has a high IQ mixed with a low IQ, mixed with a high IQ again. Like,
yeah. And the thing is, you can ask your LLM questions all day long and it won't get bored. It won't say I'm in a meeting or anything like that. You can just continually hit it with information and get output. I mean, I created like, so one of the things I've always been a fan of is trying to understand what the competitive landscape looks like before you get too deep in the weeds with running stuff, right? And I created a kind of I guess I call it a tool, but it's a tool that has lots of information about specific brands. So it's got their name, which vertical they're in, Facebook page, everything. Website address, Facebook ad library address, link, right? So I can see where they're running it, YouTube ads, Instagram. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to build up a profile of like, where's the gaps? Where's the kind of missed opportunities that exist within that particular either advertiser or that particular vertical, right? So again, if you look at it, you can analyze it and say, okay, well, based on that, they're running ads on.
Can I give
TikTok,
you one more thing that you might have done
running on here, whatever.
Take the URLs for all your competitors, put them into a research model and say, figure out the 10 biggest points that they try to stress to potential clients or enrollees. And also come up with the top 10 things that their product solves and put all of the companies together to identify why they are successful at pitching their product. And I've done that. And it's like, it's not every time again, but like it's more than half. It'll see something I didn't. Something like they use certain words in certain ways. And it just so happened to be that 80% of my competitors all did that. And it's all above the fold and it's always in their creative. And I'm like, I never noticed that. And then I do it and all of a sudden conversion rate goes up because they're pre-marketing using commercials with the terminology. So as soon as I match their stuff, it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause again, so much of the success is there for all to see, right? I mean, again, you can pick an advertiser, go to Facebook ads library. I'm not saying you want to like copy word for word the ads that they're running, right? But you can get a really good feel for something, right? You can get a really good feel. If an ad's been running for 6 months, right? Then there's every likelihood that ad has been successful, right? They wouldn't be running an ad unless they're stupid, right? And some advertisers are stupid, right? I've always seen like Black Friday offers in June and I'm like, are they 6 months ahead or 6 months behind? I don't know how far ahead or behind they are, right? But it's amazing how many people do that. But for some people, it works, right? It just works, even though they're doing something.
You're like this. I actually met someone that did that, and I asked him to explain the methodology. I was like, "Did you just leave it running by mistake?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Do you have any idea how many people think that they're like getting one over on us?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I run Black Friday ads in February. Like I run them year round because people go." Look at this guy. He left his ads up and now it's 40% off. I might as well go grab one. He's like, the sales just keep coming. Yes. And the comments are like, LOL, you're dumb. I can't believe you left this up. And I'm just like, you just paid me. I wouldn't have had a sale otherwise. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of that kind of aspect that makes a difference. It's crazy that in some industries that works great. In other industries, you're like, how out of touch are you that you haven't even looked at this? And so it really depends on the product.
And one of the tools that I've built into this product is it looks at MILD, right? Yep. So MILD is basically email marketing ad library, effectively, right? So you can, and again, I've always looked at it and said, if you're running a subscription business, let's say you're running a kind of a collagen sort of subscription business, right? And you've got 4 competitors or 5 competitors, and you put them in, you can put them all in, and you can see every email that they send, what cadence, what promos they're using, what discounts they're using. If they're going $30 off your first offer, you can know exactly what they're doing. So if all of them are doing 30, you might go, hey, I'm going to give 40, and more people will click with that than anything else, right? And again, I'm just amazed at how many people don't do that research, the analysis of competitors before they sort of move too fast, get their credit card out. Here's my money, spend my ads,
right? But like, it doesn't take away prep time. Like you still need to be able to understand what you're about to do and what you're trying to do. Because otherwise, if it doesn't work, you're going to go back and not have anything else that you can go over, no way you can improve it, nothing you can fix, like nothing. So, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's where AI is really coming to the fore. Is it enables, like I said, one individual to do multiple things at once without having to worry about.
And that's what it is.
Cost
it's
of
faster
hiring 6 people to do the work. You can get 6 people.
It's faster prototyping, faster testing, faster iterations. That's the people that use it like that will get the benefit. They need to understand it though. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Of course.
So cool. Rob, thank you so much again for this fantastic episode. I think we've covered a lot in AI.
Yeah, definitely.
And
well, we'll see how next week goes.
Can't wait to get on to the next episode with you.
For any of you that are watching, send us ideas. I have no problem going through your stuff. Like you might have a problem with going through your stuff, but just let us know.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment in the comments below. If you're on our website, then again, we have like a voicemail. Leave us voicemails. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Leave comments on the post. Every post that we put up on the website will have a place where you can kind of leave comments. If there's something you would like us to rip apart, whether it's your business or competitor's business or something like that, just let us know. We would love to see what we can do. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.